During my year-long overseas posting, my husband and son cried on the phone every day, telling me how much they missed me. Ross insisted on scheduled video calls just to get through his workday, and my little boy, Toby, refused to go to sleep unless I sang to him over a cross-ocean call. Then came the day I got distracted during one of those calls and fell into a storm drain. Instead of clinging to me, they suddenly became the ones comforting me. Honey, focus on your work. It is only a year, and I can wait. Mommy, I will be a good boy. I can sleep on my own now. I pushed myself to the limit, optimizing my workflow to finish a 12-month assignment 2 months ahead of schedule. But by then, they hadn't contacted me in over 2 weeks. I caught a red-eye flight back home and went straight to Toby's school essay competition. As I reached the auditorium door, my son's sweet, high-pitched voice echoed through the speakers. The title of my essay is I Love My Mommy. My heart warmed as I leaned in, eagerly waiting to hear the rest. My mommy Tina is a superhero. To the crowd's roaring applause, my husband walked onto the stage, his arm wrapped tightly around a woman. The three of them stood close, thanking the audience together. And I froze. The mommy Tina, Toby loved, the woman in my husband's arms, was my best friend. Ross spotted me and froze for a fraction of a second. He tapped his phone quickly. A second later, my phone buzzed in my hand. One text on the screen read, "Don't make a scene. I will explain when we get home." I took a deep breath and sat down in the nearest empty seat. Ross gently rested his left hand on Tina's shoulder while holding Toby's hand with his right, sitting directly in front of me. They looked like the perfect family. The whispers of the other parents drifted into my ears. What a beautiful family. Even with how busy he is, he still makes time to support his kid. I know. Remember the school field trip? He was so sweet to his wife. I was so jealous. And the parent-teacher conferences. Most kids only have one parent show up, but Toby always is both. He must be so happy. I'm used to it by now. They're always together at every school event. Ross seemed oblivious to the chatter, whispering softly into Tina's ear. A sharp, suffocating ache bloomed in my chest. I wanted to scream, to tell them that I was Ross's wife, that I was Toby's mother. But the words died in my throat. By the time the event ended and we got home, dusk was falling. Tina made herself comfortable on the far end of our sofa. Wendy, please don't get the wrong idea. I only went for Toby's sake. He said all his friends had both parents there. He felt so left out being the only one with just a dad. I glanced at Tina's left ring finger. The ring she wore was identical to mine. Our wedding band. Does a simple school competition require a matching wedding band? Ross sat beside me, rubbing my back gently. We just had to make it believable. If we slipped up, think of what the other parents and kids would say about Toby behind his back. Wendy, you've been away too long. You don't know how cruel schoolyard gossip can be. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. I remembered a school sports day before I left. I had been held up by an emergency meeting. When I finally got home, Toby was curled up on the couch, sobbing. He eventually confessed that his classmates mocked him for having a mother who was never there. I realized then how much pain he had hidden just to keep me from worrying. Tina slid the ring off and tossed it casually onto the coffee table. Look, don't be mad. Now that you're back, you can take over his school events and I can step back. Suddenly, Toby ran down the stairs, tears streaming down his face. You always put work first. My classmates always laughed at me. You never pick me up from school, so I asked Annie Tina to play the part. My chest tightened, a burning sensation stinging my eyes. Ross frowned, his voice sharp. Toby, apologize now. My son walked up to me, his face red from crying. I'm sorry, Mommy, but Daddy and Annie Tina are just friends. They did it for me. Please don't be mad at them. Seeing how earnest my son was, my resolve softened. Ross and Tina were people I had loved and trusted for a decade. They always kept their distance around each other, sitting on opposite ends of the couch. They hadn't even had each other's contact info until I insisted before leaving the country. Maybe I really was overthinking this. I took a deep breath, smiled, and opened my arms. I'm sorry, sweetie. Mommy promises she won't break her word again, okay? But Toby didn't run to me like he used to. He hesitated, looking at Tina as if seeking permission. My chest tightened. Tina looked away, a flicker of awkwardness in her eyes. Ross gave Toby a small nod, and only then did my son step forward to hug me. My warmth began to turn cold. Before bed, Toby brought out his piggy bank. Mommy, here's all my money. $3,546. I remembered how long he'd saved this money for something special. He climbed into my lap with a grin. I want to buy a gift. I smiled, assuming he remembered my upcoming birthday. Then he added, Annie Tina's birthday is in a few days. Can you help me buy her the big fireworks display? My smile froze. Toby, if mommy had to go work abroad again, would you want to come with me? He buried his face in his pillow.
No.
Daddy and Auntie Tina are here. I like it here. I let out a quiet, bitter laugh. Just as I stepped out of Toby's bedroom, my phone buzzed. It was an email from my contact in London. The message said, Wendy, get your onboarding paperwork sorted as soon as you can. I have managed to push the start date back a few days for you. I walked into our bedroom and winced, shielding my eyes. The warm, soft lighting had been replaced by a harsh, clinical cool light. Ross noticed and quickly dimmed it, looking apologetic. I'm so sorry, honey. Tina said the cool tones would give the room a modern, high-end feel. I completely forgot your eyes are sensitive to it. He pulled me close, whispering, don't be mad at me for a stupid mistake, okay? A stupid mistake? I wanted to laugh. When we first renovated this house, Ross had been obsessed with the lighting, terrified of anything hurting my sensitive eyes. He had traveled to light markets across the country, running himself ragged until he fell ill. I remembered crying by his hospital bed and him wiping my tears, saying that anything affecting me was his absolute top priority. He had visited 13 cities just to find the perfect warm lights. Now, Tina's casual suggestion made my comfort a stupid mistake not worth mentioning. I reached for the glass on my nightstand. It was ice-cold juice. Cold liquids gave me stomach cramps, so Ross always left a glass of warm water for me. Now it was replaced by iced juice. I couldn't drink cold things and I hated juice. But iced juice was Tina's favorite. I set it down without a word. Ross didn't notice. He kissed my cheek like he always did, but the touch felt like a thorn pricking my heart. My phone buzzed, saving me from having to speak. It was an invitation to our 10-year college reunion. I typed a quick reply confirming I'd be there. Ross looked surprised. I thought you hated these events. I do, but 10 years is a milestone. It's worth going to. 10 years ago, on graduation day, Ross had proposed to me in front of everyone. He had organized our entire class to hand me flowers, appearing at the end with a massive bouquet, getting down on one knee. He had promised me that his heart would never change. Girls in the crowd had wept. I had cried in his arms. I looked at myself in the mirror now, wondering if human hearts ever truly stayed the same. The next day, after dropping Toby off at school, we prepared to leave. But Ross stopped me. Tina is coming with us. Let's wait for her. I didn't say anything and climbed into the passenger seat. Half an hour later, Tina showed up. She reached for the front passenger door, only to freeze when she saw me sitting there. Her face paled. Oh, sorry, Wendy. I get carsick easily, so I instinctively go for the front. I merely nodded. She awkwardly got into the back seat. We arrived late. The others teased us, making Ross drink 3 penalty cups. He drank them easily, then took my cup and drank that too. The other women sighed in envy. 10 years and you two are still like newlyweds. You actually proved your vows true. Ross grinned. I keep my promises. Of course, I am going to spoil my wife. When it was Tina's turn, she pleaded with the group. Spare me, guys. It's that time of the month. I can't drink cold alcohol today. The men teased her. Don't ruin the fun, Tina. Find a boyfriend to drink for you. Tina's smile faltered. I was about to stand up to help her out, but Ross beat me to it. He snatched her glass and downed it in one go. Stop teasing her. She said she is not feeling well. His voice was light, but his eyes were serious. Eyes darted between the three of us. I clenched my fists under the table. The air grew cold. Then, someone piped up, you two are still as close as ever. The tension dissipated as the others began reminiscing. Everyone knew Tina was crazy about Ross back then. Who knew he'd fall head over heels for Wendy at first sight? It's amazing how Wendy and Tina ended up best friends anyway. I forced a smile. Tina had chased Ross for a year, but Ross had fallen for me during a debate competition. When I finally agreed to date him, Tina had gracefully stepped aside. Later, I saved her from some thugs, and we became fast friends. My phone vibrated violently. It was my assistant sounding frantic. Wendy, you need to come back right now. Something went wrong. I stood up abruptly. I stared at Tina, my face cold. Did you actually review the proposal before submitting it? Tina flinched. Of course I did. This project is huge. I checked it several times. Ross can vouch for me. Ross nodded. Tina worked late for days. I remember clearly. My assistant met me at the door. Wendy, the submitted project budget has an extra zero. A $42 million proposal was inflated tenfold. There are 2 approval signatures on it. Tina's and Ross's. Tina and Ross followed me back. I threw the documents on the desk. Tina's face turned white. I didn't mean to, Wendy. It was an accident. An accident that will cost the company nearly $300 million? You are fired. The company will be filing a lawsuit. That's enough, Wendy, Ross yelled. It's not just your mistake. I'll handle the financial fallout. But you don't have the right to fire shareholder. What do you mean? Ross helped Tina up and draped his coat over her shoulders. I transferred my 10% share to her. Wendy, you're being too harsh. Tina is Toby's godmother. How is she supposed to face anyone if you humiliate her like this? She took amazing care of Toby while you were away. Consider the shares her reward. You are in love with her, aren't you? Silence filled the office. We didn't do anything, I swear, Ross said after a long pause. I couldn't even summon the energy to argue. I placed my resignation letter on the desk. People should pay for their own choices, shouldn't they? I went home, packed a bag, and headed to the airport. At the security gate, Ross called. We picked up Toby. He wants to celebrate Tina's birthday. He paused. Just this once. After this, she and I are done. I smiled quietly. Sure. Have fun. Ma'am, you are cleared through security. Your gate is on the left. The flight to London was a blur of static hums and dim cabin lights, a stark contrast to the blinding, cold white bulbs Ross had installed at Tina's whim. For 12 hours, I didn't cry. My tear ducts felt as dry as my heart. When I landed, the crisp British air hit my face, shocking me back to reality. I checked my phone. There were no missed calls from Ross, only a single text sent hours ago. We're at the restaurant. Toby wanted the window seat. We'll talk when you get back from your little temper tantrum. I deleted the text, blocked his number, and called my contact at the London firm. Hi, Marcus. I'm at Heathrow. I'm ready to sign the onboarding paperwork today. Wendy. Brilliant news. Marcus cheered. The corporate housing is ready for you. Welcome to the team. While they were lighting fireworks for Tina, I was signing a 5-year executive contract that legally tethered me to a new continent. I spent the next 3 days in a whirlwind of corporate induction, filling my mind with spreadsheets, asset allocations, and legal briefs to drown out the echoes of my son's voice telling me he preferred Auntie Tina. On the 4th day, my phone rang from an unknown number. I answered. It was Ross, his voice tight and breathless. Wendy, where the hell are you? The house is half empty. You took your passport and your clothes. Toby has been crying because you weren't here to make him breakfast. I am in London, Ross. I transferred to the main headquarters permanently. A heavy silence fell over the line, followed by a sharp, nervous laugh. London? Wendy, stop playing games. You can't just leave your family over a budget mistake and a misunderstanding. I told you, Tina and I are just friends. She's moving out of the company's sphere anyway. I left my resignation on the desk, Ross, along with something else. Check the top drawer of our nightstand. I hung up. In that drawer lay a neatly printed petition for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, alongside a relinquishment of my corporate shares in exchange for a complete liquid buyout. I had already emptied my personal accounts. I was gone, a ghost in their perfectly constructed family dynamic. 2 weeks passed before the reality of my departure cracked Ross's arrogance. Because I had blocked him, the communications came entirely through my lawyer, Mr. Vance. Ross refused to sign the divorce papers. He bombarded Mr. Vance with messages, demanding to speak to me, claiming I was abandoning my maternal duties. Then the calls shifted. They became frantic. Mrs. Capenga, Mr. Vance told me during our weekly briefing, your husband's company is in severe financial distress. It seems the $42 million budget error wasn't easily corrected. Because you were the lead auditor, the investors have lost total confidence in the restructuring plan. Furthermore, without your operational oversight, 2 major supply chains have collapsed. I sipped my tea, looking out at the rainy London skyline. That is no longer my concern. Ross claimed he would handle the financial fallout. He has Tina's 10% shares to help him. About that, Mr. Vance coughed discreetly. Miss Tina has allegedly liquidated her shares to a third-party competitor to avoid being named in the impending corporate lawsuit. She took the cash and left the firm. I wasn't surprised. Tina was a parasite. She only clung to a host while it was healthy. She wanted my husband, my son, and my status, but she had no desire to share the labor or the liability. That evening, a FaceTime call bypassed my block through Toby's iPad account. I accepted it, eager to see my son's face. Instead, Toby appeared on screen, his eyes red and swollen. He was sitting in his messy bedroom, the room I usually kept spotless. Mommy, he sobbed. When are you coming home? Daddy is always yelling on the phone. Auntie Tina doesn't come over anymore because Daddy said she stole money. I hate the food Daddy orders. I want you to sing to me. My heart broke into 1,000 pieces, but the searing pain was accompanied by a cold, hard truth. Toby, I said softly, keeping my voice steady. Mommy is in London now. I cannot come back. But I want you here, he wailed. I'll be good. I won't ask for fireworks anymore. You wanted Annie Tina to play the part, sweetie, I said, the words tasting like ash but necessary. You told me you liked it there, because Daddy and she were there. You have to be strong for Daddy now. Before he could answer, the phone was ripped from his hand. Ross's haggard face appeared on screen. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Wendy, please, he begged, his voice cracking. The bank is freezing our corporate assets. Tina took the buyout money and ran to another city. I was blind, Wendy. I swear nothing physical happened between us. It was just, she made me feel needed when you were away. Please come back. We need you. I need you. You had a wife who loved you so much. She finished a year's worth of work in 10 months just to come home early, I said quietly. But you turn my home into her house. Fix your own lights, Ross. I ended the call. By the second month, the legal battle escalated. Ross, desperate to force me back to the table, filed for full custody of Toby, demanding massive spousal support from my new executive salary to keep his failing business afloat. He claimed I was an unfit, absentee mother who had abandoned her child. My legal team was prepared. We filed a countersuit for sole custody, backed by a mountain of evidence I had quietly compiled before leaving. I didn't just have the budget reports. I had records from the school. Mr. Vance presented the parent-teacher logs, proving that Ross had explicitly registered Tina as Tina Forger, forging my name on school emergency contact sheets. We had testimonies from the other parents who genuinely believed Tina was the biological mother because Ross had introduced her as such at weekend sports games months before I even returned. The court date was set in our hometown, forcing me to fly back. When I walked into the courtroom, Ross looked diminished. The expensive tailored suits he used to wear were replaced by a off-the-rack ensemble. Next to him sat his lawyer, looking defeated. Tina was there too, subpoenaed as a material witness regarding the corporate fraud and the domestic arrangement. She wouldn't look me in the eye. Her fingers were bare. The identical wedding band was long gone. Your Honor, Ross's lawyer attempted. Mr. Kapanga acted out of desperation for his child's psychological well-being during his wife's prolonged absence. An absence dedicated to funding the very company Mr. Kapanga managed to bankrupt in 60 days. The judge interrupted, reviewing the financial disclosures. The judge looked down at Ross with utter disdain. You didn't just substitute your wife in your home, sir. You attempted to legally and socially erase her while utilizing her labor to sustain your lifestyle. The ruling was swift. The divorce was granted on grounds of marital misconduct and financial dissipation. I was awarded sole custody of Toby, with Ross granted restricted, supervised visitation rights twice a month. The house was ordered to be sold to liquidate my share of the marital assets immediately. Outside the courtroom, the hallway was quiet. I stood by the elevators, waiting for Mr. Vance to finalize the paperwork. Footsteps approached. It was Ross. He looked at me, his eyes hollow. You ruined me, Wendy. The company is gone. The house is going to be auctioned. I have nothing left. You had everything, Ross, I replied, not looking at him. You threw it away for the novelty of being adored by a woman who only loved what I built for you. Tina emerged from the double doors, clutching her purse. She looked at Ross, then at me. Wendy, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. I envied what you had. Ross was always so perfect to you. I thought if I stepped into your shoes, he'd be perfect to me too. I finally turned to face her. The only reason Ross was a good man, Tina, was because I held him to a high standard. Without me to guide him, he's exactly what you see now, a weak man who shifts blame when the lights get too bright. You didn't steal a prize. You stole my trash. You're welcome to keep it. She flinched as if struck, turning around and walking away quickly, her heels clicking loudly on the marble floor. Ross reached out, his hand trembling, trying to touch my sleeve. Wendy, what about Toby? He misses you. Can we try for him? Toby is coming with me to London, I said, stepping into the opening elevator. I will teach him how to be a real man. Something he would never learn from you. The elevator doors slid shut, cutting off his face forever. Taking Toby to London was a difficult transition. The first few weeks were filled with tears, tantrums, and quiet nights where he sat by the window, staring at the unfamiliar, rainy streets. He missed his father, and he missed the comfortable illusion of the life he had known. But children are resilient when surrounded by actual stability, rather than performative affection. I didn't hire a nanny. I restructured my executive hours so that I was the one waking him up, the one packing his lunch, and the one waiting at the school gates at 3:30 p.m. sharp. Every single day. One afternoon, 3 months into our new life, Toby walked out of his British primary school holding a painting. It was a picture of two figures holding hands under a massive, brightly colored umbrella. "Look, Mommy," he said, holding it up proudly. "I painted us." I knelt down, hugging him tightly. "It's beautiful, sweetie. What's the title?" "It's called The Safe House," he whispered, wrapping his small arms around my neck. "Because the rain doesn't get inside anymore." My eyes stung, but this time, the tears were warm and healing. He was letting go of the phantom, Mommy Tina, who only showed up for the applause, and he was embracing the mother who stood by him in the quiet, mundane realities of life. That night, I received a notification from my bank. The final liquidation of the old house had cleared. Ross had been forced to move into a cramped, one-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city, working a mid-level consultancy job just to cover his debt payments. He rarely used his visitation rights, citing travel costs, but the truth was simpler. Without an audience to admire his fatherhood, he lacked the discipline to sustain it. A year later, the London spring brought rare, brilliant sunshine to the city. I stood on the balcony of our new apartment, watching Toby play with a model airplane in the courtyard below. He looked taller, healthier, his laughter echoing clearly through the crisp air. My phone buzzed on the table. It was an industry newsletter reporting on the total acquisition and dissolution of Ross's former firm. The name Kapanga was completely erased from the corporate sector back home. I smiled, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no malice, no regret. Total, beautiful indifference. I walked back inside the living room. The space was flooded with natural light, supplemented by beautiful, custom-designed warm lamps that cast a golden, comforting glow over every corner. I had chosen them myself. The winds that had once threatened to tear my life apart had finally halted, leaving behind a profound, unbreakable calm. I picked up my coat, grabbed my keys, and went down to join my son in the sun.